Loud.
Wait,
We start video
Thank you. Down there.
there.
Oh, we're not videoing anything. It's just her voice.
Oh, is it just voice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
They don't get to see me?
do you want them to see you?
Well,
Okay.
sure,
rock and
yeah,
roll.
absolutely.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Well, welcome to the Small Business Center here in Belleville. I'm Tamara, and I've been here since March. I'm doing a mat leave. I'm gonna sit down like this. I'm already doing a yoga pose as I'm down here.
You are?
And I'm with Janice Duffy of Serendipity Yoga. She's in beautiful Bloomfield, Prince Edward County. So take the drive to the island and get refreshed and renewed and take care of yourself. This is there, like I said, there's no slide presentation. This is an interactive session. Janice has got a wealth of information. She's been doing this many, many years. And she's constantly researching and reinventing herself. I'm just so proud that she's here. Please enjoy and thank you. Oh, I forgot one more thing, didn't I?
You did.
My land acknowledgement.
Yes.
I'm gonna do this because it's really, it's appropriate. I am such a stickler for Remembrance Day and Thanksgiving, and I'm just so happy to be a Canadian. So here is a land acknowledgement of Crenville and Small Business Center. We acknowledge, respect, and honor the first peoples of this land. We are grateful for the opportunity to live and work here and do yoga. We are thankful for the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We appreciate that there is a responsibility we have to ensure that all peoples have the knowledge and the respect of this land and the permission that allows us to remain sustainable and survive. And survive, not only in the past or the present, but into our future together. Thank you. All right, Janice, let's do it.
Thank you, Tamara. So this feels strange for me to sit. I'm gonna pretend that I'm sitting on my yoga mat.
Aw.
But it feels.
Do you want me to
actually-
take the table away and you can sit on the floor?
Well, I'd have to be on the table, I think.
Wow, yeah, that's a little weird. Okay.
No, so I'll
Okay.
stay where I am. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for being here in person. As Tamara said, and thank you for the introduction, my name is Janice Duffy, and I am the owner of Serendipity Yoga in Bloomfield. I opened the studio in Bloomfield. It'll be 2 years, May 1st, 2024. And prior to that, I had a home studio in Picton, as it says, just in my home. My husband was very gracious in allowing the family to give up our living room and our dining room to have space in the house where we, after COVID, could invite in an intimate group of people, 4 to 6 people, to practice yoga. I have been practicing yoga, personally practicing, for about 9 years, and I have been teaching, it's coming up to 7. I am from the county originally. I was born in Picton Hospital. But like everyone of a certain age, we moved away after high school, went to school for post-secondary. And we were very fortunate to always have a home in the county. So during COVID, we decided, why are we working from home in Whitby when we could work from home in the county? So back we came. I was working as a corporate human resources manager for a mid-sized family-owned and operated company in Toronto, construction company, property management, and construction. And decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. I loved it. I love the people piece, but you know, we carry a lot of stress within our regular day-to-day as it is. And as I had come to found that yoga was an opportunity for me to relieve that stress and to make my life healthier and happier, I decided that when that space in Bloomfield came open, that was my sign, big neon letters saying, this is it. So I left the job in Toronto, and I'm now doing this full time. So coming up to 2 years full time. I am very fortunate to bring yoga to the county. There are other yoga practitioners within the county as well. But I like to feel that my approach is a holistic one. While yoga is great, there are other aspects to yoga, and we're going to talk about actually the 8 limbs of yoga.
Wow, 8.
8. There are 8. Yeah, it's not just the body movements.
It's not just the cat or the cow.
It is not, although obviously they're memorable. But before we get started, what I would like to do
Should we find
is,
out who's here? Should we talk about who's here maybe?
shall we talk about who's here?
I don't know. Crystal, you want to say hi? Morgan, how you doing? Happy New Year, Morgan. I'm not sure who S is. Is that a Sarah? We have two Sarahs in the room.
Now they're thinking, oh.
Oh,
put me
I
on
don't
the
want to
spot.
talk. Yeah,
That's
okay.
okay, you don't have to
All
talk.
right.
I appreciate the fact that you're here. But what I would ask that you do before we get started in talking about yoga and wellness, especially as a small business owner, medium-sized business owner, any business owner, let's take a moment, just become centered within our space.
All right.
So I invite you, whether you're lying down, if you're sitting in a chair, if you're sitting on the floor, even if you're standing, just to take a moment to place, if you're standing, both feet on the floor. But for all of us, let's place both feet on the floor. Feel the floor beneath you, beneath the feet. Maybe rock those feet forward and back a little bit. You can see me doing that, I think. And then we'll shift those feet just a little bit from side to side. If you're in a spinning chair, this makes things a little bit easier. Let's come to stillness. Now I'm leaning forward. I have my elbows on the table. My mother would be very upset with me right now. But for all of us, let's just sit back into the chair. If you're sitting in a chair that has a backrest. So sit back, but arms hanging down onto your lap, not on the armrests. Shift around on your bottom. Feel the seat beneath you, feel it supporting you. And let's roll those shoulders a little bit. Forward and back, up and down. And then if you feel comfortable with it, I invite you to start to soften your eyes. So maybe just take your gaze down in front of you, for us on the table or down toward the floor, and kind of unfocus the eyes a little bit. If you feel more comfortable with it, I invite you to close your eyes. And take a moment here to feel your body being supported by the floor, by the chair. Feel the touch of the air on your skin. And now as you start to connect with your breath, perhaps you can even feel the rustling of your clothing against the skin with every breath. Now that breath. I invite you to draw awareness to that breath, just in its natural form. And did you know that we breathe about 23,000 times a day? So for the next few breaths, I invite you to focus on that inhale and on your exhale, not changing it, but just allowing it to be, allow it to flow in and out. Notice how that breath sounds. Notice how it feels as it flows in and out of your body. Notice if it changes your body in any way. With your next exhale, I invite you to relax those shoulders. Now you might have realized where the shoulders were. I invite you to relax your jaw, maybe even enough so that the bottom teeth and top teeth are no longer touching. Perhaps you can release the tongue away from the roof of your mouth. And then start to soften your face, especially the skin and the muscles around your eyes. Maybe that spot between your eyebrows. And then see if you can smooth your forehead a little bit. Continuing to focus here on your breath. Let's take an inhale, nice and deep in through the nose, and we'll exhale through the mouth with a sigh. Let's do that again. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the mouth with a sigh. Awesome. With your next inhale, if you've softened or closed your eyes, just starting to blink them a little bit, slowly taking in the light around you, the space around you, our community together. Maybe roll those shoulders a little bit more, or shake out your hands and your fingers, and then come back to a spot where you're seated, where you feel comfortable. No special equipment, nothing other than me guiding you through how to breathe and how to relax your body. But how often do you do that throughout a day? Not as much as you should.
Consciously, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Even lunchtime is like, oh, I'll quickly eat. Why?
or run out and do something.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And you know, for all of us, whether we're managing, owning, operating a small business, medium business, whatever it may be, or just managing our own lives, we're busy enough. There's enough going on that we need to learn how to take the time to relax. And I mean, that just sounds so easy, relax. We say it so often, but what does that really mean? And for a lot of us, I have many people that practice yoga with me. For them, yoga becomes, it can become relaxation. So let's talk a little bit about what yoga is.
Perfect.
So, and Sarah, I saw your comment. Thank you. I understand multitasking while these things are happening. So thank you for making me part of your multitasking. I appreciate it. So yoga, I know a lot of people have a preconceived idea as to what yoga is. They might think, oh, it's someone sitting quietly cross-legged on a mat. Their hands are on their knees. Maybe they're touching thumb and index finger. Their eyes are closed and they're breathing. Yeah, that's yoga. But there's also a lot of movement within yoga. I offer a 6:30 a.m. practice 6 days a week, and it's called Morning Flow. And we do just that. We flow, we move, we breathe, we sweat, we laugh. But it's a stronger practice. For a lot of people, they like to start their day with some strength. I was just listening to a podcast by Mel Robbins on the way in about, did you listen to this one about how to start your day off on the right foot?
I haven't listened to that one yet. I was listening to Mel Robbins yesterday though on
Oh, the goal setting?
goal setting.
Yeah, so good.
Wow.
Yeah, so good. So that's why we don't have a slide deck today as well, because Mel Robbins, I think she's pretty cool and I think she's rather authentic. But her philosophy is it's as if you're out for a walk and you're just talking to your friend.
Lovely.
So I thought that's kind of how this would go today. Because with slide decks, I was mentioning to Tamara earlier, you know, for a lot of us, I can put up a slide deck and I can read what it says, but you know what, you can do that as well. So let's make this interactive. If you have any questions at home or wherever you're watching this today, throw them up or even come on screen and
Yeah.
ask your question.
Unmute yourself and rock and roll.
Yeah, exactly. So yoga. Yoga is a Sanskrit word which means to yoke, to unite. So really what we just did when we were sitting in our chair and we were being mindful for our breath, we were uniting our breath to the moment. That was yoga we were practicing. Now there is that quiet movement within yoga. We can get hot and sweaty or anywhere in between, but moving intentionally, moving mindfully with breath is yoga. Now, why do we want to practice yoga? What's in it for any of us to practice? Well, it can create strength. It can improve our balance. Is anyone getting older? Is anyone older today than they were yesterday?
Hello.
All of us, right?
I'm older than Tim Hortons.
Well, you shared that with me. And as I said, you don't look a day over than, you know, that
Yeah, it's
Boston
been on their
cream donut.
marketing since 1964 for crying out loud. I gotta do some yoga and get moving
You
here.
do. So within our yoga practice, when we build strength, we're also connecting our brain with our body. We can't move without our brain. And balance is so important. We do a lot of balancing poses within our yoga practice. And, you know, standing on one foot and, you know, maybe coming into a tree pose. For those of you that practice yoga, that's not, you know, that's bringing the foot up to the inside of the standing leg. Maybe arms are out or up toward the ceiling. You're growing your branches. But anytime we balance, we're connecting brain, mind to our body, to what our body is doing. And our brain has to work, even though we don't realize that the brain's switching on to stop us from falling over. It is. It's our vestibular system. I wrote down a stat and I want to pull it up because I don't want to misquote it. Did you know, this isn't a written test, 28 to 35% of people age 65 and over fall every year.
Oh, yeah, my goodness.
28 to 35%
I've
of
been
people
walking for
fall.
65 years or 64
Yeah.
and a half.
Yeah, but they fall.
That's a danger. That's a danger. If you don't
It
know your
is.
body, then you're gonna hurt more.
Well, it is, and it's also interesting to know that it tends to be the male gender that falls more often than the female gender. Reason being, men, married to one, and I love him, and I've got a son, I love him too, but I've found they take risks. They take risks more than women do. And I'm not painting that with a wide brush. From training that I have recently done about training the older adult, which is 50 plus. It is a stat that, based on emergency room visits,
Wow.
that, they do see more male gendered individuals than female. So we take risks, and we take risks because we become perhaps overconfident within our movement. Yeah. And as we age, our brain starts to shrink a little bit. Unfortunately, it's just nature of aging. But within our yoga practice, we can keep our brain healthier. Now, are we going to prevent it from shrinking? No, probably not. But with movement and breath and mindfulness, we can prevent the amount it shrinks.
Wow.
Breathing. I've talked a lot about it. We've already done one breathing exercise. So let's come into the 8 limbs of yoga, because breathing is one of those limbs. So I know we think yoga and we think about sitting on the mat, legs crossed. We talked about some other styles of yoga. There are some slow, stretchy practices. There are some lovely restorative practices, which actually kickstart the parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest nervous system. And that can also improve our immunity. Who doesn't need that in the season that we're in
100%.
right now? But all of those are asanas, asanas, which again is a fancy word. It's a Sanskrit word, which translates in English to pose, to posture.
Okay.
So if we talk about, let's talk about Tadasana. So if anyone has practiced yoga, a mountain pose, Tadasana, mountain pose.
Wow. Okay.
So the root of most of our poses is an asana suffix. So 8 limbs of yoga. So poses you might think is right up there in the first 1 or 2. It's not. The first one is something called the yamas. And yama it's a group of different principles that are disciplines. So the very first yama, and we're going to talk about this one a little bit because I think it's something that all of us who work and live can relate to, is a word ahimsa, ahimsa, ahimsa. And ahimsa means literally non-violence, but we've kind of softened that over the years to mean compassion. So if we think about compassion, not only compassion to those around us and being kind and looking out for them and making sure that they get everything that they need, but for our own self, compassion to each one of us, taking the time to refill that cup, which we don't do, especially if, I'm owner operator of my yoga business in Bloomfield. And I have my husband who helps me, with certain aspects. He does guide some of my practices, but at the end of the day, it's me. So I'm guiding 30 practices a week on average. So that's 30 hours a week. And if that's all it was, it would be manageable. But we all know running a business isn't just doing the work. It's social media, it's marketing, it's
Checking your
responding
cash
to
flow,
emails,
budgeting your
it's the
finances.
banking,
Oh
it's
my
paying
goodness.
bills. There's a lot involved in running a business. And if we don't take the time to look after ourselves, if we don't take the time to look after our body, be compassionate, ahimsa, we'll come to a point where the body says, okay, you're not going to ignore me anymore. And you're going to
give you the
have to,
cold.
yeah, you're going to have to look after me. So if we think about ahimsa with what we do on a daily basis, and it could be holding the door for someone, it could be taking a time for me right now, I've crossed my legs, to uncross my legs so that both feet are back on the floor. So I'm sitting balanced. So I'm finding balance within my body and feeling a little bit more grounded. It's little things. It doesn't have to be this big, sexy ahimsa, whatever it may be. It's taking the time to have some water, taking the time 15 minutes to have to yourself and eat a proper lunch. Take the time the night before to plan what your lunch is going to be. So anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. And when I was planning it, an hour to talk today, I thought, oh, I could talk for a day. I won't do that to you. So after yamas, which are the disciplines, then are the second limb of yoga is the niyamas. So there's yamas, niyamas. Niyamas are positive duties. I'm not going to go into those. Then the third limb are the asanas.
Hmm.
They're the poses, the postures. It's the physical practice. After that, number 4, pranayama, breath. How important is our breath? I think for the season of COVID that we've lived through
Oh, we know
and the
that.
pandemic, we've learned not to take our breath for granted. Anyone who suffers from emphysema, from COPD, anyone who's an athlete, we know how important our breath is. Our breath nourishes us. It brings us energy so that we can do the things that we need to do. I mentioned we breathe 23,000 times a day, but we're not usually mindful of that breath. It just happens, thankfully. It's one less thing that we have to think about. But if we start to think about the breath, we can change it. It's one of those autonomic systems within our body that we can change easily. So I thought we would do another breathing exercise, if
Perfect.
everyone's with me. I can only really see if you two are doing it. But you don't have to if you don't want to.
Totally want to.
So let's do something called alternate nostril breathing. So our brain is in 2 hemispheres, left and right. One looks after the creative side, one is more logic. What you may not realize is that our breath, obviously it feeds the brain, but our breath changes through our nostrils day to day, hour to hour, minute to minute. So we're not always breathing in through both nostrils at the same time.
For crying out loud.
Depending on what we're doing, the breath may need to go to the creative side of the breath or to the brain, and our breath might need to go to the logic side. So our body, again, it's pretty amazing. It does these things without thinking about it, without us having to flip a switch. So with our alternate nostril breathing, which we're going to try right now, we will consciously be sending breath to each side of the brain. So I invite you to take your left hand, I'll turn sideways. So left hand, this is my right. I'm doing the yoga thing. So this is really my right. I'm going to say it's my left. Left hand in front of the face, pressing the index finger and middle finger to the spot above the eyebrow. Let's take a deep inhale in through both nostrils. And then we're going to close off the left nostril with the thumb. We're going to exhale through the right nostril. Let's inhale through the right nostril. We're going to close it off with the ring finger, but we're going to open the left for the exhale. So exhaling through the left. Inhaling through the left. Closing it off with the thumb, we're going to open the right for the exhale. Inhaling through the right. Closing it off, opening left for the exhale. So let's take 3 more rounds of breath here. Whenever your third exhale happens, then let your left hand float down to rest on your desk, on your table, on your knee, on your thigh, and come back to the breath as it naturally flows in and out of the body. How'd that feel? How do you feel now?
It's an interesting sensation. Like first your brain goes, this is silly. I got my finger on my nose.
Yes, exactly.
And then all of a sudden you just say, fine,
Yeah,
just do it.
yeah.
And it feels like there's a buzzing,
Okay,
an energy or something.
okay,
I don't know.
I can agree with the buzzing kind of feeling.
okay.
I just noticed no chat window opens. If they are chatting, we can't see it.
Oh, how do I do that?
I'm not sure that that's the only challenge. Might be in the more section. Yeah, there's a chat with the red.
Thank you. I think that might be Sarah's message.
Oh, there we
Yes.
go.
So let's just get rid of that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for noticing that.
thanks for sharing.
So chat is now open. Please join us. So yeah, we do feel funny. I think we
And you
feel.
got warmer. Look
I
at
got
that.
warmer. Yes, I did. Make sure that I'm only taking off 1 layer. I think for a lot of us, when we do something different, we do feel awkward. And especially, hands to noses and hands to faces. But did you think about what you have to do this afternoon while you were doing that?
No.
No. Isn't that interesting? Maybe that was the same for you at home. If you found that you're really mindful as to what you were doing when you were trying to figure out, okay, is it the thumb now? Is it the ring finger?
Mhm.
Am I inhaling? Am I exhaling? Did you find that you were mindful? Or were you thinking about laundry or a grocery store or whatever else you need to do
Gotta
this
get that
afternoon?
email done. No.
Yeah.
Totally blocked it.
Nice. So even if you think I messed this up, I wasn't doing it properly, you were still staying present in the moment. Mindfulness, it's gotten really big in the last little while, where everybody's like, be mindful. Although I remember my grandmother saying when I was little, be mindful how you go. So maybe she coined the phrase, I don't know. But if we can be mindful, if we can be present in the moment, rather than being distracted by our phone or by, oh, I just got a notification on my phone, I've got an email, or, we've got smartwatches. So we're bombarded by distractions of our own doing. We've got enough distractions around us without that. But if we can find 30 seconds, a minute to be mindful and draw yourself into how you're feeling, just to let go of that outside world and let it go on its own. How wonderful is that? It didn't need you for that time. And while we were focusing on that breath, the other thing that was happening, chances are your breath slowed down a little bit. And when your breath slows down, not only does the breath slow down, but your heart rate slows down.
Your nervous system too, probably.
Your nervous system and blood pressure. The lower number, 90, 120 over 80, whatever it may be, the lower number maybe went down a little bit lower. So again, not only are we focusing on the breath, but systems within the body are slowing down. No special equipment, we used our hands.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. So again, if you're going into a meeting, if you've got a presentation to do, you could sit in the car for a few minutes, do some alternate nostril breathing before you walk in for your presentation. But a nice way just to slow things down. Breathing is so important, so important. And, we're not taking it as granted as we did, but I think we're kind of slipping back into that. But it can change how we feel pretty darn quickly. I'm not going to, I'll touch on the other names of the rest of the limbs of yoga. If you have any questions about it, let me know, but we're not going to dig into those. So after pranayama, there's pratyahara, which is withdrawing senses. So it might be reducing your hearing, it might be holding yourself into a space where you're not bombarded by a lot of outside influence. Dharana, focus, concentration, meditation, anyone? That is dharana. Dhyana is, we're bordering into enlightenment, which is samadhi, which is the last limb of yoga, enlightenment or bliss. So, it's said that if you practice all 8 limbs of yoga, you'll eventually get to that point where you do find enlightenment. Maybe it's in the next life or the one after that, who knows, depends on what you believe in. But those are the 8 limbs. So just interesting to think, even though we all know the term yoga, we all know meditation, we know breathing, they're not in the top 2. It's how to live and really how to treat others, which comes first. But I leave with you that ahimsa, compassion. Think about that for yourself. Maybe, have an extra glass of water this afternoon, or sneak away to a corner where you can do some alternate nostril breathing.
It doesn't take long. It
just doesn't take long. No, not at all. So I've already talked for 30 minutes. I knew I could take this all day, but I won't. So we talked about what yoga is. It's uniting movement with breath. Yoga is very holistic. So we've already talked about how it's great for the body. It's great for the breath. It's really one big bundle of joy. It can bring joy to you. Well, you said I'm the bringer of fun of movement or something,
you are.
Which I might put on my business card. I kind of like that. But when we talk about physical health, again, we're aging every day. From the minute we're born, we're aging. I think we want healthy aging.
Yeah.
We want life
The
in our
journey to be
years.
at ease.
Exactly. So I mentioned that scary stat of 28 to 35% of people of 65 and older falling each year. 2 in 80, that is incorrect. 50% of 80-year-olds, that's what I really wanted to say, risk a fall resulting in serious injury.
Aw.
33% over the age of 65 risk a fall resulting in serious injury. Now, those individuals over the age of 80 who have a fall, it could lead to a secondary fall. It could lead to hospitalization. It could lead to long-term health care. Now, do I have 80-year-olds that practice with me? I sure do.
Yes, you do.
I do. Now, do we practice a morning flow? No, we don't. Do we practice a practice where we're seated on a chair? Yes, we do. Now, some of those individuals have practiced with me. Some of them were coming up to 18 months and they're off the chair and they're doing a tree pose. They're balancing
That's
because
brilliant.
they've come to see the difference in their body. They've come to see a difference in their day-to-day functional abilities from practicing yoga once a week, some of them twice a week. But it does make a difference. It really and truly does. And if we can work on our balance, if we can work on our strength, especially the female gender, as soon as we hit that 50 mark, 50 years of age, our estrogen just starts to plummet.
Your metabolism's.
Metabolism, our bones get a little softer. There's a stat that I read last week that 70% of women over the age of 55 will develop frozen shoulder. So I don't know if you're familiar with frozen shoulder. It means that our range of motion is limited and we might only be able to lift up to like that 90-degree angle from torso to arm. We can't take it overhead.
So you can't put your bra on, you can't get something off the hanger.
It's truly
crazy.
life limiting, and it's because of lack of estrogen. It's also because of the movements that we do every single day. So for a lot of us, when we carry things, so for example, if I'm picking this up, I don't know if you can see that, it's just a little bin with pins and keychains in it. When I pick it up, I normally pick it up with my palms in, my thumbs up. But if I were to pick it up with my hands underneath, palms up, thumbs out, what's happening here is I'm rotating the head of my humerus out for some external rotation. Normally, it's internal. So just that little turn of the hand turns the head of the humerus out. Our shoulder is a ball and socket joint. So it's a ball in a shallow socket. All of us, we may have some creaky shoulders. They might be cranky as well. But that rotation, extremely important. So when you carry your groceries, if you carry groceries from the grocery store to your car, instead of carrying them like this, arms down, bags beside your hips, turn your arms out and carry them forward. Might look a little goofy, but you know what? At the end of the day, if it's going to make my shoulders feel better, I'm going to do that.
Well,
And then, yes,
sorry,
no.
we use a mouse all the time, like
Yes.
right? And it's that same shoulder. I got a mouse
Yes.
now. It's like, they're $100, but it's totally worth it. And it turns your hand, so it cradles your hand like you're shaking somebody's hand.
Yes.
And it's instantly, I can do creatives, I can do whatever, a million emails. I can watch a YouTube, whatever. It's like, and then at the end of the day, I'm not like rolling my
Yes.
shoulder, or the steering wheel feels weird, or like, or I'm
Exactly.
just tired and
Yeah.
cranky because my shoulder's
Yes.
tired.
And in our shoulder, as I mentioned, it is a ball and socket joint.
Mm.
It is shallow. So for a lot of the movement that we do, and we do want that range of motion, not only forward and back, but we want that motion out and up because it is meant to move that way. But I don't know. I mean, yes, I do more than probably most of us, but we don't walk around like this.
No.
And, once upon a time, we were climbing a lot more than we are now. So we've started to lose that mobility in our shoulders. And as soon as we don't use it as much as we have the opportunity to, what happens? We lose it. Same thing within the hips. The hip is a very large ball and socket joint, which is deeper. Obviously, we don't want that one to come dislocated. The leg is meant to move forward and back, in and out. So within a yoga practice, there might be those cows and cats, which is great for the low back, but a child's pose, a wide knee
my
child's
favorite.
pose, taking the knees out wide and then the hips are coming in toward the center of the body for internal rotation. So a lot of movement is healthy movement that we don't often get within our regular day-to-day. So am I saying that yoga is going to cure anything? No, I'm not. I'm not that person to say that. Am I going to tell you that it makes me feel better? Yes, 100%. Am I telling you that it could improve the quality of your life? Yeah, it can. I have an individual who is turning 70 this year. So at 65, she had her first bone density scan. She had one 2 years after that. So she was 67. She had one again when she was 69. But the interesting point between turning 67 and 69, she started practicing yoga. I can tell you without a doubt that her bone density improved
That's amazing.
in the 2 years that she's from. Now she practices 5 times a week. She does practice a lot, but she also walks and, she does things. She hasn't got the mindset of,
I'm an old lady.
I'm 70, I'm going to sit in this chair and drink tea. There's nothing wrong with that in bite-sized pieces, but she wants to live to enjoy her life. I don't know if you're familiar with sun salutation A. So in the summer, summer solstice, and in the winter solstice, we celebrate the arrival of the solstices with 108 sun salutations.
Wow.
We do them in 9 sets of 12 with little breaks in between, but it's pretty much nonstop. Takes about an hour 45 minutes to do that celebration. Last summer, her name's Monica. I won't tell you her last name, but Monica. She said, I'm going to do it. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to try. She did it. All 108. Winter solstice, she said, I'm coming back.
Oh my goodness.
And because of her enthusiasm and her encouragement to the people she practices with, I had 15 people celebrating with 108 sun salutations. One person had only been practicing with me for 3 weeks. And she said, if I do 33 is my number. If I do 33, I'll be happy. She did about 85.
Wow.
So it's not the number. It's not the number of sun salutations. It's not the number of your age, but it's what you do every single day will make that difference. It's like that podcast with Mel Robbins. I won't spoil it for you, but the way you start your day is the way you finish your day. And if you take the time for healthy movement, whether it's yoga, whether it's walking, whether it's hopping on a treadmill, whatever it may be, find that movement, because honestly, that's going to make you feel better. All movement's good movement as long as it isn't painful.
It puts the fun back in your life, I'm telling you.
It does, absolutely.
And for the young people out there, like yoga, like I remember taking a course and it's like, oh, we don't have to do a will because, we're 20 or we're 30 or whatever. It's like, well, you might have an accident. Yoga is preventative, like hugely.
It is.
So, whoops, I'm so sorry.
Well, that's okay.
That never happens.
That's quite all right.
Nope.
All
That's
good.
my Sherwood Forest Rachel. So King Arthur is coming into the room.
I love it.
I find we forget, like, we all know what we're supposed to do. We all know how we're supposed to take care, whatever. And I remember an older person than me, said that she would like bang something, or she would, maybe not dislocate a shoulder or whatever, but fall off her bike. And she thought, oh, that's gonna hurt when I'm 60. So when you're 20 and 30, if you're preventative and you're aware of your body, even if you just take that compassionate 15 minutes a day and make yourself stronger, you can have fun and your life and within your movements.
Yeah. The other thing about any movement, whether it's yoga or anything else that you enjoy doing, movement releases the happy hormones, the good hormones. So serotonin and dopamine. So that's why, I honestly, and this may be hard to believe, I have never practiced yoga and afterward thought, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Now, there have been times I didn't want to go, but that's because I was sitting on the couch and eating and didn't want to get back up to go to the studio. And that's not since I opened the studio. That was before. That was pre-Bloomfield. And I know we all have that. Oh, I don't want to.
Oh, I don't want to get dressed and go to work.
we can find the excuses. But I think, all 95% of the time we feel better
100%,
after.
or even just into it, like you
Yes.
arrived, you're there, you've got your shoes off, you roll out the
Exactly.
mat. And Janice is always, she respects the human body, and then she invites you to do the same. It's an incredible experience to do one of Janice's classes. She guides you along. She treats your mat like it's a sacred little space just for you. Oh my goodness, just for me. I love that. Compassion, big time, right as soon as you walk in the door.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic view.
Well, and it's your time.
Mm.
And I think it's important, again, whether it's yoga or anything else that you do, you make the time for you. I'm not going to talk much longer because if I do, I'm going to go into other things and maybe you can invite me back. We can talk about those other things
I think
later.
they should go down Prince Edward County and Bloomfield. Or
But-
if you know, or if you've been dabbling and thinking like, oh, yoga, it's, I'm not gonna lose weight or I'm not gonna get strong. I think yoga is a complement to every day beyond your,
Yes,
little
depending on what your goals are.
yeah.
Yeah, let me know what your goals are. I've never been stronger in my life than I am
Wow.
right now. Yeah, it's it can increase muscle mass. And it releases stress and it can make you just a happier person overall. And again, if you're happier, chances are you're going to treat yourself with a little bit more compassion. And then that translates to everyone else around you. So it's really a win-win-win. I thank you for your time. I'll open it up to questions if you have any. If I have answers, I'll give them to you. If I don't, I'll come back to you with answers and maybe I'll just make something up and say it with confidence so you believe me. I will let you know that for all of you that joined me today, I'm going to send you a pass so you can come see me at the
Oh.
studio.
Janice is so generous. Did you guys get that?
You
Come
can-
on, I want to see some thumbs up here. A free yoga session.
Sarah's multitasking. She'll see that later.
Okay.
So you can join me in studio or online because all of my practices are online via Zoom. And yeah, feel free to, oh, thank you, Sarah. Thumbs up.
Aw.
But yeah, and no obligation. You can even gift it to someone else if you prefer, but it is out there. And
I'll put that in the workshop
yeah,
recap email.
yeah.
So you guys will get a workshop recap email, and that will be with Janice's generous
Yeah.
invitation.
And if you have any questions about anything, reach out
And take a
Thank you.
breath.
and take a breath. Yes. And I thank everyone for your time. I really appreciate it. It was lovely to come to this space. Thank you for the
Thank
invite
you.
and talk about something that I do love
With passion, for sure.
with passion and compassion.
Have a great rest of your day,
Yes.
ladies.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone. Have a great day.
Okay, I see where you're now. I was like looking around on the map of the county.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's not far away. To get here today, like door to door today, it was like 20.
Yeah.
I'm out of Brighton, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit farther than that.
But I'm